Hello amigos! In today's video, we're going to revisit and re-edit this image that I took back in 2018 at Banff National Park in Canada. Now, this is my 2018 edit. Now, with time, our tastes change, our abilities to edit, to retouch our photos hopefully get better, and our tools also get better and they give us different options. So let's go to Lightroom and see what we're gonna do with this image today. As I was telling you, here is the image edited back in 2018, and it has been one of my favorite images probably of the last 10 years. I love the mountains. This is Moraine Lake, by the way. I love the canoes on the front and the light coming from the right. But that photo didn't start there. This is the original raw image. And if we go to the histogram, you can see that this image is well exposed. I try not to burn the blacks or the whites. And we need to recover some of the detail because there was a little bit of haze. And I want to, in today's version, separate the sky and the mountains from the front by using kind of a temperature difference. What is the plan of attack for today? Well, we're going to edit the sky and the mountains first. Then we're going to edit the trees, then the canoes, and then the water. And then we're going to try to bring it all together. And we're going to use the flexibility of maps that Lightroom now has to offer. But before we start, I think this image is a little bit crooked. So we're going to go to the crop tool, and I'm going to tilt using the grid, trying to align the horizon, the water, in one of the lines. And that's it for now. And I'm also noticing a couple of small branches in this area. So I'm gonna bring it in. It's good to patrol the borders and remove distractions that we may have on the borders. So this is the image after the slight crop and angle change. Let's start with the sky. So we're gonna go to mask, select sky. Let's see what select sky does. And it did a very nice job. It did select a little bit of the top of the mountains, but let's not worry about that for now. And what I want to do on the sky is we're gonna reduce the exposure a bit. I want to recover the detail on the clouds, so I'm gonna bring the highlights down. I'm gonna bring the whites down. I'm gonna go to color. I'm going to make it a little cooler, something like -10 points. I'm gonna increase the saturation a bit. I'm also gonna go to effects, and in the haze, I'm gonna use the haze, which is gonna increase saturation and add contrast. But we're gonna use it in a very small amount. And something I like to do with skies to make it look more natural, because I don't want the effect to be the same at the top and at the bottom, is with the Alt key, I'm going to change add and subtract to intersect. And I'm going to intersect with a linear gradient, and I'm going to put it in this area. And basically, we're refining the mask, having 100% at the top, 100 to 50% in this section, and then 50 to 0 in the bottom section. And the effect now, if I turn off the linear gradient, this is everything, including the area near the mountains, was very dark. But by using the linear gradient, it gives it, I think, a more natural looking result. So that's for the sky. Now let's look at the mountains. There's a little haze. I want to recover the detail on the mountains. So we're gonna add a new mask, and one of my favorite masks is select objects. I think it's very, very flexible. So I'm going to draw around the mountains, and we don't have to be super precise because the artificial intelligence is gonna take care of the rest. But let's paint. Let's see what it does. It's gonna take a few seconds, and it did a good job on the left. We're gonna have to add again with objects, and let's add the rest of the mountains one more time and see if we have better luck. And this time by doing it twice, it worked better. So we have the mountains, the peaks here are not selected, so now let's add with the brush and let's give it a little help. And there, I went a little bit over. I used the Alt key, turns negative, and let's say that's the mountain selected. What do I want to do with the mountains? Well, I'm gonna bring them a little down. I'm gonna increase the highlights and the whites because I want the snow not to get so dark. But I'm gonna go under effects. I'm gonna increase the haze. It brings detail in the mountains. We have to make sure we're not heavy-handed, so something like -12 points. I'm going to increase texture, increase clarity, but sometimes by using clarity and decay together, the shadows get a little too dark for my taste. So I'm going to go back to tone and bring the shadows up just a touch. And in color, I'm going to make the mountains a little cooler. And why do I want that? Is because I want the sky and the mountains to be a little cooler, a little bluish. And then the front of the photo, the trees and the canoes, I want to make them a little warmer and create some separation between the back and the front of the photo. So that's the mountains. If I turn off the mask, this is before and this is with. We got quite a bit more detail on the mountains. Now let's work on the trees. So I'm gonna add a new mask, objects again, and let's select the trees and let's see how the select objects work. And it did a very nice job selecting the trees. So the trees, I'm going to increase the exposure a bit. Light, color, and detail is what attracts our eyes. So exposure, I'm going to bring the highlights up a bit. I'm going to increase the shadows. I'm going to go to color. I'm going to improve the saturation. And I'm going to make them a little warmer. That separates them from the mountains. In effects, I'm going to use a little texture and clarity to emphasize the detail on the trees. Now let's work on the canoes. Again, we go to create mask, objects, and I'm going to paint over the canoes. And let's see what select object does. And it did a very nice job. Left this one, so I'm going to add again, this time with the brush. That's one of the great advantages now with Lightroom is you can combine the different masks. Let's say that's the mask for now. So on tone, I'm going to increase the exposure. Want to bring our attention to the canoes. I'm going to increase the highlights and the whites. In color, again, I'm going to make them a little warmer. And I'm going to add quite a bit of saturation, bright, strong colors, oranges, blue, catches our eye. And I think that's looking very nice. If I turn off that mask, that was before, and this is after. Now I want to work on the water. And again, we're going to create a new mask object. Again, object is very flexible. So I could have used select color, but I'm trying to emphasize the use of select objects in today's video. So let's see what it does. It did a good job. It did go on the pier. And so what we're going to do is we're going to subtract with the brush. I have automated mask turned on. So I'm going to subtract it from here. And I'm going to add again with the brush this portion of the water that it didn't select. What do I want to do in the water? Again, I'm going to increase the exposure a bit to even out the image. I'm going to go to color, and it has kind of a turquoise color, and each one of these lakes at Banff has a different tonality based on the sediment, different type of sediment that comes down from the mountains. For my taste on this one, I'm going to make it a little bit cooler, not much. I'm going to increase saturation. And there are some small waves on the water. This is not a long exposure, but I can go to effects and reduce texture and clarity a bit. So if I turn off the mask for the water, this is before and this is after. I think it's looking very nice. One more mask. The light is coming from the top right, the top of the trees and this right side of the canoes. What I'm going to do, I want to emphasize that light. I'm going to create a new mask with the radial gradient. I'm going to start outside the photo, draw it in. I'm going to change the angle, something like this, so as accentuate that is coming from the top. And that's looking good, something like that. And what I want to do here is in tone, I'm going to increase the exposure a bit, like a third of a stop. I'm going to increase the highlights. And in color, I'm going to make it a little warmer, like early morning sun coming in. With this radial filter, we are simulating a stronger effect of that light. So if I turn it off, this is before and this is now. So if I turn off all the masks, this is how we started after the global adjustments, and this is with the different masks that we had done. I think for masks, we're done. Let's close the mask. Now there are a few corrections I would like to do. If I make the photo bigger, I see there's one person here, there's a group here, and there's another one there. So let's go to the correction brush, the remove brush, and let's just see what Lightroom does. We don't have to use AI for these. For these small corrections, I think it does a very nice job. There's some debris on that side, and that worked very well. Another piece that I would like to correct is we had these upside canoes, and because they're right next to the edge, I think they tend to get our attention. So I'm going to close the correction. I'm going to open it again because I notice if I switch to AI, sometimes it changes the last brush I had used, and it's better to close it and then open it again. So I'm going to go now to the intelligent remove with generative AI. I'm going to make my brush a little bigger, and I'm going to tell it that I want to remove this section and use generative AI. So we're going to tell it apply. It's going to take 5 to 10 seconds because it has to go to Adobe's cloud to generate what it's going to fill it in with. And it did a good job. It created something different here on the side that I don't like. Let's see, it gave us 3 options. That's option 1. Option 2, it gave us water there. I don't like that. And this is option 3. Well, it gave us this object here. We have a few options. We can try to do it again. Let's see if I close it. I'm going to open it again. I'm going to turn off generative AI. Let's see if using the traditional content aware fill is going to work. So I turn off generative AI, and I'm going to paint over the object that it has generated. And sometimes, we had to turn it off, come back, and use a different tool. So that worked better. Now, I'm going to close the healing area, the correction area. So we see that we have a little red dot on the mask, and that means that we modify the area in which we have generated intelligent masking before. There are 2 ways of removing that red dot and basically update the mask. One of them is we can go under settings and update all settings, and that's going to regenerate all the AI masks. The other one is to open the mask, select any one of the masks. We have the 3 little dots, and say update AI mask. Either one will work. And now it's going to take a few seconds. It's going to update all the masks, and there we are. It removed the little red dot, and all the masks can now be updated, and hopefully any areas of discontinuity and color got fixed. So that's it with the mask and the corrections. What else do I want to do to this image? Well, I'm going to go to detail. I'm going to put it 100% right here in the canoes. I'm going to create a mask, moving masking to the right. This is the area that I just want in white to apply sharpen to. I'm going to increase amount, selecting the Alt key, pressing it. I can evaluate the effect of amount. I'm going to increase detail the same way, and I'm going to increase luminance. This photo was taken at ISO 400, so the noise level is very low. And finally, after I bring the photo back, I'm going to apply a slight vignette and darken the corners just a little bit. So this is the image that we have ended up with. We started here. This is my edit from 6 years ago. And this is the edit that we just did over the last few minutes. Which one do you like better? I like them both. But like I say, our tastes change, our abilities to edit hopefully have improved, and the tools that we're using give us different options, like all the AI masks that we now have in Lightroom. Well, amigos, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to send me your comments or ideas for future videos. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.